Hi, Baconhair Animated here, and today we're going to see who will win the final battle, monsters or hunters. Before watching this episode, I recommend you to check out the previous one, link in the description. The plane with the escaped monsters was already at the airport. Some airport loaders calmly unloaded the boxes in the warehouse.
Did you hear what's going on in the neighboring town?
Huh?
There's a real monster.
What?
Yeah, it's good that we're all far from it.
Whew.
But suddenly, they saw how someone began to slowly crawl out of the boxes. They took a closer look and realized that there were monsters.
Oh, mother! Oh!
The loaders ran away, but it was too late. One of the monsters immediately attacked the first poor fellow. The loader began to fight him off. The other loader began to throw at the monster everything that he had at hand. But for the monster, it was nothing. Soon he grabbed the loader with his teeth, and the man died. The rest of the monsters also decided to keep up, rushed to another loader, and began to drink his blood. The witch used telekinesis and threw one of the loaders into the wall.
Let's look here for the boxes with weapons.
And the monsters really, to their happiness, found a couple of boxes with a bunch of weapons. The monsters ran to the parking lot and saw an empty minibus. They quickly climbed into it and rushed out of the airport in search of an abandoned place where they could find shelter. They found an abandoned factory outside the city. At that factory, there was an old TV that worked somehow. The monsters sat down in front of it and turned it on. But a terrible disappointment awaited them. On TV, the presenter said that the hunters defeated Huggy Wuggy, and he died. The monsters were very disappointed by the death of their friend. Meanwhile, the pilots who flew the plane with the monsters approached the warehouse to reprimand the loaders.
What nonsense! All the loaders are gone.
And the plane is still not completely unloaded. Where are these lazy bones hanging around again?
As soon as the pilots entered the warehouse, they almost went crazy from what they saw. The gnawed loaders lay all over the warehouse without a drop of blood.
Who could have done this to them?
Whoa.
It must be those monsters from the neighboring town that the hunters are chasing. Are they now in our city?
Stop talking. Call the police, now.
Ah.
Uh-huh. The pilots also noticed that the boxes of weapons that were supposed to be handed over to the military were now empty.
Uh-oh.
The pilot reported the incident with the loaders and the missing weapons to the duty police officer. And he reported it to the monster hunters.
Okay.
The hunters didn't expect such a turn of events. They were celebrating the victory over Huggy Wuggy to the fullest. But the commander burst in and interrupted their celebration.
You relaxed too early.
Pack up and go catch monsters. Quickly. They were seen at the airport in a nearby town. They have already managed to deal with the loaders there. You have 10 minutes.
But how can we get to that town so quickly?
I'll take care of it.
The commander dialed the number and called the helicopter. On it, the hunters went in pursuit of monsters. Soon they were at the airport. The pilots saw them and immediately realized that these guys know their stuff. The hunters were very well equipped with good weapons and communications. They questioned the pilots and airport workers and learned that the monsters were seen near the minibus in the airport parking lot. Hunters rushed to the parking lot. The parking attendant said he saw the minibus drive towards the abandoned factory.
There are several armored personnel carriers in the parking lot. You can use it if needed.
So, the hunters rushed on several armored personnel carriers towards the plant. Meanwhile, the monsters, grieving, turned on the TV again.
Attention, attention. It became known where the other monsters from Huggy Wuggy's gang are located. Hunters set out in pursuit of the criminals.
How? Have we already been found?
So it's good that we took weapons. Our enemies are coming into our hands.
But we haven't had time to rest yet.
I'm afraid we have no choice.
And the monsters began to get ready. The hunters burst into the plant at high speed and immediately opened fire from the turret-heavy machine guns and killed one zombie who at that moment was waiting for them near the minibus. A shot from a grenade launcher sounded, and one armored personnel carrier was blown up by a direct hit. The monsters opened heavy fire on the hunters and killed the wounded, who crawled out of the burning armored personnel carrier. The commander of the hunters called for reinforcements, and 2 combat helicopters flew out to the hunters with sets of missiles. The monsters shot down one incoming helicopter from a grenade launcher. But the second helicopter fired several missiles, and they blew up all the grenade launchers. The monsters were already in despair and were about to give up. Suddenly, their old friend, Huggy Wuggy, jumped onto the helicopter. He heroically damaged the engine and jumped off of it. The monsters were delighted and jumped for joy. Huggy Wuggy brought another grenade launcher and gave the monsters the elixir. They drank and felt better. The monsters fired at another armored personnel carrier, and it exploded. Then, the commander of the hunters entered the battlefield as their detachment suffered significant losses.
Fight to the end. We don't run away.
The monsters realized that if the hunters continued to fight now, they would all be devastated. Then, Huggy Wuggy raised a white flag and invited the hunters to cease fire and talk. The commander agreed.
So, let it be. We'll stop killing you, but you must let us go and promise not to follow us again.
Give us 2 minutes. We need to discuss it.
Uh-huh.
The hunters voted to let the monsters go, but stay alive.
Okay. We'll let you go. Just give us your word that we'll never hear from you again. And you won't kill people anymore.
I give you my word. We'll live in dungeons, and no one else in Roblox will be harmed.
Okay.
The commander and Huggy Wuggy shook hands and went their separate ways. The monsters got into the minibus and left, and the hunters got into their armored personnel carrier and drove off in the other direction.